Growing up in Jamaica, when we were playing against the female team, some of the comments, and not only comments, I'm talking violence and physical violence that we endured at the time. Sometimes thinking about it it would still make me choke up a little bit.
Recent Olympic bid, that's a single-sex bid. It doesn't include men. And their recent strategic plan has completely cut out all reference to development of men's and boys netball.
I'm really passionate about netball.
Hello and welcome back to Here If You Need, your netball podcast where we say what everyone else is thinking. Now, today we have a special men's episode coming up for you, which we filmed back in July. Now, that is important context because we talk about the Commonwealth Games and we give our predictions, which are quite funny now looking back on it. So I thought I'd leave them in. But this weekend, we have the EMNA National Mixed and Men's Netball Championship. So I just thought I'd get the wonderful Lucy Goodman to come on and just tell us what we can expect from this weekend and to encourage you guys to get down there and have a watch. Lucy, over to you. What's happening this weekend?
Oh my goodness, Emily, what's not happening is probably a better question. So as you said, EMNA National Championships taking place this weekend. It's the biggest men's and mixed netball club tournament, we think, in the entire world. So that just tells you the kind of scale of it. This year, we've got 36 mixed teams taking part and 12 men's teams. And because the mixed section is so big, we've actually done it a little bit differently this year. We've kind of split it into a mixed championship and a mixed challenge cup to give sort of lower ranked teams a chance of still walking away with some silverware. So it splits the competition slightly, which I think is just a fantastic idea. It kicks off on Thursday, the 27th of August with the regional playoffs, and that will determine which teams are going through to the mixed championship and which teams are going through to the mixed challenge cup. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic weekend, netball across 4 days. The Thursday regional playoffs are free for anyone to come and watch. So if you're in the local area, pop on down to Sir David Wallace Arena. There's 2 courts running at the same time. You've got 5 games of netball back to back. You are spoiled for choice in terms of what to watch. Friday and Saturday, unfortunately, just because of size of venues and the amount of spectators we anticipate, there are no spectators for those 2 days. But on the Sunday, for the finals in Sir David Wallace, we've got the full Loughborough Lightning show court. We've got 8 showcase matches, including the Mixed Challenge Cup final and the Men's and Mixed Championship final as well. So tickets are available for those. I highly recommend that you get yourself a ticket, bring some friends along because it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Awesome. And just give us a bit of a lowdown. So the episode that's coming up talks about men's netball, but I know that the mixed side of this tournament is particularly big this year. Can you give us a few names to watch out for? There's a Kelpies star playing, I believe.
There is a Kelpies star playing. Very astute of you, Emily. Yes, top of the list of ones to watch has got to be Liam Kiley. So he played in the Aurora series between England and Australia back in when was it? July last year, I think it was. He's arguably the best male goal shooter in the world. And so when Leeds Fury, who he's playing for, did their squad announcement, there was a lot of chatter around that particular appointment. So he is definitely one to watch. A couple of other men that I think you should keep your eye out on in the mixed competition. I've spotlighted Ben Layton, who was last year's player of the tournament for the mixed competition. He's one of the England trailblazers, which is our under-23 performance programme. He is absolutely fantastic. He's got springs in his shoes, really sort of quick reaction times. He's really engaging to watch. So he's one to look out for. He's playing for Kraken Legends. And then another one, and this might be a slightly selfish personal one of mine, but I've gone for Manish Manoj, who I actually used to coach at Surrey Hurricanes. Oh. He's playing for the mixed side. He's also part of the England setup. He's one of the tracked athletes, sort of the level that's just below the Thorns, sort of trying to push to get into the Thorns. He's won Wing Defence of the Tournament in the wider Team of the Tournament awards for 2 years on the trot. So it's not just a little bit of bias. There's some history there as well to back up my claim, but he's definitely one to watch as well. And a couple of the women are playing in the mixed competition. You'll recognise quite a few of these names. You've got the likes of Antonia Mitchell, who's playing for Stunts OGs, Loughborough Lightning Next Gen, has featured in the Netball Super League as well. You've got Freya Henschel, who used to be Nottingham Forest Netball Super League, and she's going to be playing for Knights. And you've also got Eliza Barkley, who we did a little preview with in the tournament program, so that'll be coming out on Wednesday, so you can have a little look at that and read into that. She is absolutely fantastic. She's also part of London Pulse Next Gen and really, really experienced in the women's game. And last year she entered the mixed competition for the first time, walked away with a championship, and now she's back for more.
Exciting. And if we can't make it to Loughborough, is there any way we can watch this online or on TV?
Yes, absolutely. So Thursday won't be being streamed, the regional playoff. So the only way you can catch that is to come there in person. But Friday, Saturday and Sunday we'll be streaming every single court pretty much. And that will be available to viewers worldwide. There's no geo-block or anything like that. So anyone who wants to watch can. You can purchase a daily streaming pass for $9.99 per day. I would highly recommend it. One pass gives you access to every single court. So there's 6 courts going at once for the majority of the time, and you can literally just pick and choose which games you want to watch, because realistically you're not going to be able to watch them all because there's like 180 games going on. It's too many, but yeah, you can tune in each day, $9.99 for a daily pass.
All right, thank you so much, Lucy. And now, guys, if that hasn't whet your appetite enough, please stay tuned for our men's special. Today, we've got something a little bit different. It's a special featuring men's netball. And we've got 2 great guests. First of all, we've got Colyn Gordon, who is a genuine trailblazer of men's netball. Everyone in netball knows of Colyn. He's had decades as a player, a coach, and he's an EMMNA Lifetime Achievement winner. We also have Nathan Dart, who is the director of Rising to the Occasion, the first Australian documentary which has been made on men's netball, and he spent a lot of time inside the Aussie setup. So let's get going. How are you guys? You good?
Hot.
I'm all good. All good.
Sweltering in the heat.
Yeah, we've got the Aussie who's inside, but you're actually in France, sheltering from 37 degrees. But Colyn, you've told us it's boiling in London, and you're still in a big black hoodie.
Absolutely. You couldn't make this up, could you?
Have you got anything on underneath, is what I want to know.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Just the hoodie.
But listen, if you want to take it off, it's a safe space
Oh,
here,
God,
okay?
no. I would not subject the world to this.
Colyn, let's start with you. Everyone in netball knows your name, but can you tell us a bit about your journey into netball, how you started, how you got into it, and
Well, I started, just a little bit of background. I was born in Birmingham, and then my parents are Jamaicans, and they took us back to Jamaica. And then I started high school, and then the class, I remember the exact day, we were split in 2 groups, one half to do cricket and one half to do netball. I was in the cricket group, and I just was not enjoying it. And then the ball, which was quite small, and it was coming at me at this speed, hit me in places where I didn't want it to hit me, and the diva in me thumped off and said, "That's it, I'm done. I'm going over the netball court." So I did, and I just left. And when I got there, the teacher was a white English woman called Margaret Beckford, and that's it. I heard her voice, and I just felt at home, and that was it. It was like a Dr. Water. And then I started playing from then, a lot. And then within like 2 to 3 years, I met a lot more male players, and then I was invited to form a club. So we started a club, and we sort of lamented about the name because I'd seen a British team, a team from England, came over to Jamaica called the Beagles at the time. And they had the English goal shooter on the team called Chris Mailer. And that's how long we're going back now. Um, and I was just like, wow, like the way they play, love the whole thing, the setup. I'm going to call the team Beagles. So we did. We called it Beagles. And then a couple of years, about maybe 2 years later, I had I saw the Australian Institute of Sports came over from Australia to play. That blew me away because then I saw the legendary, and I mean legendary, Vicky Wilson with Ann Sargent, Sue Kenny, Clarissa Dalwood, um, uh, McInnes on the wing defense, Felke, and a big, tall, strong goalkeeper called Sally Ironmonger, who was brought in specially to deal with the Jamaican shooter, Patricia Cricket McDonald at the time. And I was blown away by this netball. And I was like, oh my God, Vicky Wilson she had me in a tailspin. And I remember going up to her and talking to her, and I was just in awe of this woman. And then I said, right, I'm going to form another team. And I did. So I couldn't call it Australians. No, I couldn't. So I called it Austrians. And that team still exists. And that team still exists today.
Wow. So in Jamaica, Colyn, is men's netball sort of very common?
Yes, it is. It is. Because when I started, and we started to, at the time, the coach was a woman called Barbara Sinclair, and she was well ahead of her time. So she used the men to play against Jamaica. And I think I can safely say that's what helped Jamaica, especially going up against the likes of Australia, New Zealand, and stuff, because that was really good competition for them at the time. And also it taught the then goal shooter Patricia Cricket McDonald, it gave her a lot of, it helped her with her skill set playing against taller, bigger, stronger opponents. And it really helped Jamaica at the time. So when they went to the 83 World Cup in Singapore, they gave a good performance. But when they turned up at the 87, it was even better because they ran Australia close and New Zealand. But then when they went to 91, which was the first world tournament to be played indoors, in Sydney, my goodness gracious me, how close was those games? It was amazing to watch, and men's netball played a part in that. Yeah, hugely.
I don't know what I'm more impressed by, the fact that people can just say the word Colyn in the netball world and everyone knows exactly who you're on about. You don't even need to say your surname or your memory of everybody's names and the years and all the coaches and players. It's amazing.
Well, I came from an era when we had no internet, or we had nothing. So when I saw a game or when I saw a move, it would stick with me. And especially what was quite vivid was the shooting style, because the Caribbean, we all know, it comes from in front of your face. With the Australian, it was this really, elongated stance. Yes, and that was what stuck with me. And then the ferocity of their play and the way they rotated in that circle, and that I'll never forget that very pretty goal attack, Ann Sargent, and she was a beast in that circle, an absolute beast. And Michelle Felke, who was the goal defense as well, and I would never forget Simone McInnes, who I think has been, in my opinion, the best wing defense ever to have played this sport.
What about Nia?
Hey, I'll take a close second behind Simone McInnes.
Oh, come on, she's up there. She's well up there. Well up there.
Yes, Carl. Nathan, tell us your journey. Obviously, we're on here to talk about your amazing documentary as well. But what was your first introduction to netball as a kid growing up in Australia?
Well, I wanted to see jump in when Colyn was talking about netball and watching the women play. And I think a lot of men, particularly in Australia, like we grew up watching maybe not watching, but just knowing about it. And when we actually do find that interest in netball, they're our idols, they're our heroes, they're the people we learn from, and then we start playing men's netball and we learn from ourselves and each other and play a different style of game, and that develops in its own way. I actually didn't get into it as a kid. I played cricket through all my whole childhood. In university, I figured that was just way too long to spend 7 hours of a Saturday in the sun, in the Australian sun.
It obviously didn't hit you in as sensitive places as it did Colin, so you didn't hate it quite as much. But
I started playing mixed university netball. It's actually a pretty common pathways for men in Australia to play mixed university netball or a private, tournament. And then I found within Sydney a men's league and started playing competitive, and I did that for about 10 years. Actually, probably a little bit more. Actually, I haven't counted the years exactly, but including 6 years of playing for a reserve level for New South Wales at a national level. So obviously, before starting the documentary, I had a lot of personal interest in the sport, and I love the sport. And I also love what it represented before, like what it represents for boys and men, and the community around that. A lot of men come to netball and play seriously and just hold on to it because it's their community.
I would agree with that.
What inspired you to make the documentary? And just give us a bit of an overview of the documentary as well.
Yeah, of course. The documentary, I suppose, I'll give a bit of an overview first. The documentary is a brief look into Australian men's netball, what it's like to compete and play at the national level. And it follows a particular team predominantly, although we include some other teams. And the sacrifice and the commitment that's made throughout that journey to a national competition. I don't want to there's no spoilers here. I'm not going to give away what happens in the end and everything, but the inspiration behind starting the documentary is really to kind of follow a team. And the very first concept was to follow the Australian team to an international competition, and that the commitment, the money, the time, the volunteers that just all go into driving the men's side of the sport was what really interested me at the time. Then COVID hit. And so I went back to the drawing board a little bit. All the borders started closing in Australia, and I couldn't get to this state or that state at particular times. Competitions stopped. So I started having some interviews with players around the place and going where I could at times. And that actually opened up a new story. I was able to get into Western Australia, which is where most of our filming happened. And Western Australia is really interesting in terms of the development of men's netball over the last 20 years. But I found some really interesting stories, and it opened up another part of netball that I didn't know because I wasn't rejected from playing netball when I was a boy. When I never played it as a boy. So I didn't know that side. I knew that kind of stereotypical men play these sports and women play these sports. So when I had men crying in front of camera or on the phone to me in pre-interviews, I just felt, I get a bit emotional thinking about it now, remembering those moments. Like, this documentary needs to take a different path. I need to tell a different story. It's not just the commitment of the players and their time. It's this much deeper story of equality in sport.
There's always this, I think, thought that being a female sport, that I think we're very proud that netball is known to be a female sport, and we shouldn't hide away from that. But my thought as well is that if we are going to sit and talk about inclusion, then in terms of how we are seen by our male sports, well, I also think then us as a female sport need to then be coming to play when it comes to being inclusive of men playing our sport. You can't just have it one way when it suits.
You know, going down the line of just being a predominantly a female sport, as it has been perceived for so long, under the national framework, whether that's actually going to work for our future. I see the men's game as an absolute opportunity to grow our game even more.
It's really interesting listening to you both, because lots of what you've mentioned, Colin, about actually not enjoying the activity you were told that you had to do in PE and going over and playing the other one. I can relate to that. I remember the first time where the girls had to go and play hockey and the boys were going to play football. And I remember going to the teacher and saying, can I go over there? And I was lucky, as you were, that I had a nice teacher who said absolutely yes. And that was sort of the start of my journey. But you talk about equality. It's funny, isn't it, how, you know, when I tell that story about me not being able to, you know, find a club or being told I couldn't play with the boys after the age of 16, people are outraged by that story. Are people outraged enough that actually there is an end to boys netball in Australia? I think it ends at 12. And then there certainly wasn't a clear pathway for them. It is, you have to stop playing the sport you love.
There isn't enough rage because the stories that are focused on the documentary are boys who are now men. So they're men, and these stories that they recount happened 20 years ago for them, or even 10, 15 years ago. However, I mean, I know of a particular example, I won't say which state, but or area, but a particular example last year, as late as last year, where clubs had applied to the state body to have the bylaws reversed in order to exclude boys playing. And so now in that particular part of this state, there are no boys at all playing after the age of 12. No boys competitions. So they actually had a boys pathway competition so that they could then feed into the state. So there were things starting to move about 5 to 7 years ago, maybe even 10. And then that's really just that's stopped. So even recently, that's just, it's still happening, and it's not, I don't think it's good enough in this day and age where we need to look at equality or equal opportunity as a global thing, not just what's popular equality. I'll call it that.
Colin, do you think we're scared? Do you think us women netballers are scared that actually if we do let you in and you do have the same access to coaching, facilities, exposure as women, that actually we will cease to be at the top of the game? We will cease to be the elite of it. Do you think it's a fear thing?
It depends, because when I was growing up in Jamaica, the challenges I experienced then were different to what I'm experienced would have experienced now. Like for instance, growing up in Jamaica, when we were playing against the female team, some of the comments, and not only comments, I'm talking violence and physical violence that we endured at the time. Were sometimes thinking about it it would still make me choke up a little bit. But we pursued it and we continued and we turned up and we did not, and there were dangers, there were genuine dangers, but we turned up, and every Saturday morning at 6 a.m., we would make sure that we turn up to the court. I remember I was living about maybe 4 miles from the court. And if I didn't have the money, I would jog to that to make sure I turn up to get there. And it's funny that Nathan mentioned something about community. This was a community for me because I had challenges at home, and I look forward in seeing my netball family to make sure I was okay. I was a young boy going to school, so these other guys also sort of looked after me in a way to make sure that I was okay going to school, doing my, on my homework. I had money for lunch and stuff like that. And it was a community, and they really looked after each other. And this is something that I've taken in my netball all these years. So like now, when I see players, I sometimes, to the much the annoyance of my teammates, why are you talking again? You're talking to somebody else. You're sharing this. You're doing that. No, but it means something to me. When I see a player, I'll go out there and I'll help them and I'll mentor them, all because of what happened in my past. And in the past, it was tough. I'm telling you guys, it was tough. The stones being thrown at us, the bottles being thrown at us, the names being called, but we pursued it because there were women out there that fought for us, as well. So that we had negative from women as well, but we majority, and I would say 70% of it were encouraging and wanted to see us there. If it would, you asked something about if men's netball would like outshine the women. No, it will never. It would never, because I learned from women. I've continued over the years to learn from women. Women are my idol. My, all my super idols are women, and I still look to them. You know what I mean? So we will never command that what women have done in the sport. No, I don't think we will. We will get there. I'm not putting men's netball out by, no means, but we will get there. But it will take time to get there. But I wouldn't want to see us outshine um, the female version, because we came in on this. We came in on this ride, and um, yes, we play the game slightly differently. We do. We have different attributes, but yeah, I wouldn't want to see it get to a point where we get more sponsorship than them, and then they're ceasing to exist. I would not like that at all. No, I want equality right across the board.
Colyn, you mentioned there that the challenges you're seeing now are different to what you were seeing before. What are the challenges you're seeing now?
You mean in terms of playing or with promotion or stuff like that?
Just the challenges facing men's netball in general, but also personally.
I think we are living in I think now, from what I'm seeing now, we are living in a lot more open and accepting era. Certainly in England, I can't say for Australia. I've been to Australia a couple of times, and it's a different beast down there. However, I think we're slowly warming to the idea. This is just my opinion. I think we are slowly warming to it that men do play, and they're getting better at it. And yeah, it's something to look forward to.
It definitely feels like there's some momentum behind men's netball in England, at least at the moment. Like, I feel like I'm seeing it more and more. Yeah, but that's not necessarily the same in Australia, is it? Even though the Kelpies seem to be miles ahead of everyone else in terms of their standard of play.
The Kelpies are I mean, they set the benchmark, in my opinion. Huh?
The situation in Australia is, it's constantly changing. It's sensitive. It's tentative. It's at the moment, I would have to say, when I was producing the documentary, there were actually a lot of good things starting to happen, particularly under the CEO Kelly Ryan. There's a really good relationship starting to develop between Australian Men's Mixed Netball Association. For the purpose of the podcast, I'm going to say AMNA. There was the State of the Game and Review from Netball Australia developed, which included sort of looking at strategic analysis of men's involvement in the sport, looking for the future involvement. Kelly Ryan had openly said that she wanted like a similar Suncorp Super Netball version for men. All these things were happening. AMNA developed a stake in the game review as a response to that, to sort of outline how they would be involved in that. And then it stopped. And this has been the case for decades. We've seen a really good growth, development of relationships, then leadership changes, and then we see a decline, and then it grows again under new leadership, and then the walls are put up. And we're seeing that at the moment, unfortunately, now that the documentary has been released. I was worried that the documentary would become obsolete with where men's netball in Australia was and the relationship with Netball Australia a few years ago. But now I'm certain that that story is going to continue to be relevant. Unfortunately, I want the documentary to be obsolete. But yeah, at the moment we're seeing not so much. Maybe I'll say I'll be open. A decline in the relationship between AMNA and Netball Australia. We've seen the recent Olympic bid to the IOC. That's a single-sex bid. It doesn't include men. Those kinds of things, when AMNA are at the table with Netball Australia, that's not good news. You know, when you see that, that is not good news. And their recent strategic plan, after the recent strategic plan, which was the State in the Game review, now it's Made in Netball. It only mentions women and girls and has completely cut out all reference to development of men's and boys netball.
Which
So
is
that's where
disappointing.
it sits at the moment. The development of men's netball is founded on the volunteers and the continued passion of men who play, who want to see, and there are a lot of women who love that too in the Australian netball space. Like there's such a good on many levels, except for the powers that be. I'm going to say there is such a good relationship between the men and the women who play, and they want to see it both thrive. Why aren't we seeing that?
Do you have any insight into why?
Leadership changes. I don't particularly want to name names, but leadership changes have, in the last few years, have definitely put the brakes on that relationship. And it's, I mean, I've asked for a response from Netball Australia on a couple of points. Was the netball bid, why did it include men? I haven't had a response. And also the Channel 9, the new broadcast deal, free to air. Now, under the Fox Sports deal and with the support of Kelly Ryan, they'd actually had some Kelpies matches, televised international matches along with the women. And it's not, there's no mention of that being a part of the Channel 9 deal, and I haven't had a response either to that. So it's definitely a new leadership thing in my mind and from what I've been told.
Just picking up on what Nathan said there, because it's interesting. He said that in 1999, I remember specifically, we went to Jamaica to play in a test series. Men from England, yes, we had an England kit on. We went out there to play Jamaica. Just as we lined up, we did the national anthem. There I was, bawling one's eyes out, as you do during the anthem. On came Molly Rowan, who gave the opening remarks. And one of the things she said specifically, she was at that time trying to be the president. She was canvassing to be the president of IFNA, as it was called, the so-called World Netball. It was called IFNA then. And she said, I promise there's going to be a World Men's Netball Tournament by 2005. Now, by 2005, as you all know, I would be 100 years old. But I went away. I spoke to my doctor, give me some extra ibuprofen. I'm going to train hard to get ready for that World Cup. And I'm going to beat my body up for it. I waited, and I even stretched from 2005 to 2010. And then I remember she said something which was quite disturbing. When she was elected, and I don't mean to be controversial here, but she said, men will never play under my watch. And it was disappointing to hear this. It hurt me to my core, because if we were going to say where Jamaica is at the moment, can be put down to not the system like they have in Australia. I know Australia have got a very good development system. In Jamaica, they don't. And this is not throwing shade, but it was the men that helped them to get there. You understand?
Yeah.
And if you used us to get to where, and then you're gonna say you're gonna diss us like this, it is not cute. It's not. Yeah. That did hurt me to my core. And it made me sort of a little bit rebellious as well. It's almost like when over here, when I hear that, oh, men only started playing netball a couple of years ago in England. That's not true. And again, it may be controversial here, but men, I remember playing netball. I started my men's netball journey here in England in 1992. Under the coach at the time was Liz Broomhead. I went on to play under seven other England managers. Liz Broomhead, Mary Beardwood to the first foreign coach, Julie Hornweg. Julie Hornweg to Lynn Gunson.
I love Julie Hornweg.
Thank you very much. Julie Hornweg to Lynn Gunson. Lynn Gunson to Waimarama Tamanu. Waimarama to Marg Caldo, who I was terrified of. Marg Caldo to Stu Hawkins.
I can't imagine you being terrified of anyone.
Oh my God, I was terrified of her. She was only a very small lady, but she had this quiet dominance about her. And when she spoke, I literally trembled. And then from Sue Hawkins, we went into Anna Stembridge, Lee Mays. Yep. So men have been around a long, long time. And now I've been playing Wales from the days of Pamela, when Pamela was this gold shooter. And I can rack off the names going down then too. You know what I mean?
Walker. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Who was she played in the 1995 World Championship and she was a handful. And then from then they move over to Jamila. I mean, you know? So when I hear this, it makes me angry. It makes me and I don't want to be rebellious. I don't want to be the one to be controversial, but don't do that. Just say then men's netball has been around a long time, but it's only been formalized now a couple of years ago. And I'm cool with that because I remember specifically the very first time I played netball in England. Again, we had no internet. We had no I'd written to England. I'd just come back from living in France for 1 year. And I wrote to England netball. I mean, we were writing letters, licking stamp, posting it. So I posted the letter. Said, could you give me a list about men's netball? They sent me one in the post. And I saw this name that I could work with that team. I liked the name. They were called Westovians. And I called the lady up. I went on a payphone. Remember those? A phone box. Called the lady on the phone and said, my name is such and such. I hear you have a men's team. She said, can you play? Of course. Does the Pope wear purple? Of course. So she said, oh, there's a men's tournament. There's a men's tournament coming up on the weekend in Basingstoke. Where's that? I asked. I had to then find a map to look where Basingstoke is. The night on the Friday night, on the Friday night, I was in Birmingham at the time. How I had to work this, I had to go to the club. The club finished at 2. I had my netball kit in my bag. Wait for the bus at 3 to take me into London. Land by 6, and then from London to Basingstoke. And then from there, I sort of had a word with a taxi. Could you take me to this court? He did. You know, and when I got there, there were 8 courts full of male netball. This was 1992. That tournament went on for about 6 years after, you know, full of men. Dylan Nexit. When they played the first test series against England, I was watching it on my television at home. When they played England men, they absolutely stomped us. And he said, this victory is not about the current men. It was for the ones who have been before. I sat there and I had to get a big box of Andrex, pulling it out, mopping my face because I was in tears. Because it meant something. It was not only Australian men he was talking to. He was talking to men who have fought the battle before, and that meant a lot. And if it did, this is all I want to hear from the England version. That's all I want to hear. It's about the men who've been before. And Dylan Nexip did that
Yeah.
for me. And that's why I'm a huge fan of Australian netball.
It's
Sorry,
amazing,
I
right?
just
Because
went
I
on.
actually hadn't realised. No, not at all. It's fascinating to hear both your experiences and stories. We almost think it's cool that recently men over here have been helping out Netball Super League teams. They've been doing it for a number of years as our training partners. But you're right, we've been using you for your physical prowesses for years and years and years to train us up. I remember Colyn coming in when I was a 17, 18-year-old. And there is nothing like playing against men's players because the elevation, the power, the sass, the speed, there is no better way to prepare for a major tournament than I said just off air. I was equally in awe as I was petrified of Colyn when he used to come in. But we have been using you for your bodies for years, and I almost think that recently we've turned it into a societal thing. It's like we've got this great thing that we've worked hard for as women and as girls, and we want to gatekeep it and we want to protect it. But actually, it's a safe space for you as much as it is for us. You're not in here to compete or to take over. We can coexist and enjoy it at the same time. And we had Claire Nelson, the managing director of the Super League, on a couple of weeks ago, and we asked her, is it the right approach actually to be alienating half the population? Possibly, we could double the fan base if we could engage men a little bit more, and how can we do that? And I don't know if you heard her response, but some of her response was, right now, until there's a level playing field, we are unapologetic in our mission for doing what we need to do for women and girls. And she then went on to talk about society and women feeling like they have a safe place to be themselves, to be emotional. But I'm just interested to hear what you two think of those comments and that approach at the minute.
I might jump in here. I think one of the things I've heard in Australia is that to be eligible to have like a major competition or to have sort of funds or to sort of have any level playing field with the women in Australia, there needs to be a quality product, the top level, which exists. That's one of the kind of key arguments. There's obviously fear around sponsorship being taken away. That they obviously need to continue to develop and grow the women's side of the game before they feel safe to invite men into that space. And all of these things I understand to a point. But we've been talking about men being used within the structure for a number of years, and in Australia it's actually been happening for almost 50 years. Since the late 70s, early 80s, the AFL men have been training with the women netball teams in order to obviously improve their jumping skills, their speed, etc. That's from the mouth of Lisa Alexander, my favourite coach. So yeah, she recounted stories of that, of them wanting the men in that environment, and that's still happening to this day. The only product we see from that is the women's game. So that is a problem, and it's still happening all the time here. And I don't think the argument stands anymore to say that we need to create a safe space for the women in this. We need to have an equal level product or whatever. You look at all the other sports where they've invited or embraced women in the game of football, particularly in Australia, AFL, Australian Football League. Those sports have boomed as a result of the women being involved. Their sponsorship has boomed. The male part of the game have actually been extremely surprised with the viewership. It's been exceptional in all of those sports that have embraced the women's. And all of those women's products came in, I would say, at not, this is my personal opinion, not at a standard that you might expect at a national level, because they didn't have the structures to really develop their training. Really, they didn't have the money behind them to really make them professional elite athletes. But now they are. And that's only taken a few years. And if we actually applied the same thing to the men's netball, within a few years, you'd have exceptional product. Imagine having like a mixed netball at the Olympics, or a mixed men's and women's all year round netball in Australia. You can have the mixed and men's in summer or whatever. It might be too hot in Australia, but like they've got to look at it differently. And I think Dan Ryan said, and I will say something from the documentary. He did say at the very end of the documentary that netball has an opportunity to show the world what real equality is in sport. The men don't want to take over. Absolutely not. We love the women's game, and it's a real opportunity to actually showcase what that looks like from a product perspective, from an equal opportunity perspective, and we're missing an opportunity if we don't go down that route.
I'm actually quite disgusted. I'm actually quite disgusted by the comment that from Ms. Nelson a little bit because, you know, going into women into what she called female space, women have always embraced us in their space, and I've embraced them. And some of my darkest moments in life, it's netball that has brought me through this. I don't know how many of you do know or is aware. My sister was killed in Lockerbie, in the Lockerbie air disaster, and
Wow.
yes, and it was netball that helped me through that very sort of dark period. Women, women, all female netballers. I remember during Mark Calder's reign, one of my youngest brother took his own life, and I had to play the next day in a training match. And I went and I trained, and I sort of lost it in. I remember there was a call, and I just lost it on the court. And I remember Mark Calder saying, "This is not normal." I didn't say anything to anyone. And when Marg heard it, the way she dealt with it, the way Dennis Egan dealt with it, the way Maggie Jackson dealt with it on that day, it still makes me yeah. And women have always been um, I'm sorry, maybe it's like a big sook, but women have always been embracing and being open and I've been the same with them. So I'm a little bit hurt by that comment. Sorry.
I think Claire went on actually to say that netball's a safe space for so many women, and I think actually we're often forgetting that netball is a safe space for men, and it just seems like we are forgetting that there's this whole side of this sport, and it annoys me so much because, for one, the products that men produce is, as we've picked up, it's different to the women's. It's so impressive. It's physical, the jumps, the lifts is so awesome to watch. But there's also that commercial side, which we just seem to be neglecting and missing out on. That's a whole new audience you could be bringing to netball. And it just seems balmy to me that we aren't doing more to help it out. There was an interesting stat, Nathan. The Netball Australia reported that there was a 200% growth in male participation. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because, that sounds like a massive increase.
Yeah, netball is actually the fastest growing sport for men in Australia. And I think, I'm not sure if I think it's football is the fastest growing for sport. No, AFL is the fastest growing sport for women in Australia. Not netball. Netball's been quite stagnant for a while. But yeah, look, the growth of the sport, just to give you a bit of an idea of the structure in Australia, there's Netball Australia and then there's the AMNA. Like in England, you have England Netball and then EMNA. And so those two entities coexist and have coexisted and had positive, negative relations for a number of years. they obviously have their own membership bases, their own involvement, their own pathways of development from grassroots up. More so Netball Australia is obviously a beast. You have to go to just a regional centre in Australia somewhere and just look at the hundreds of netball courts that are just for a small town. It's unbelievable. So it is a very much a part of the blood in Australia for women and girls, and that's an amazing thing. It's always been an amazing thing. And then recently, we've obviously there has been growth over a number of years, but recently we've seen quite a strong growth. I'd say the last 10 years in men and boys being involved. That is actually not really a statistic that either I would say AMNA or Netball Australia can say lay claim to in terms of their involvement in that. That really is those men who are playing in mixed competitions in private, private competitions at universities who are introduced to the game through their girlfriends or partners or whatever avenue you get to it. And then you've also got the boys who are now, given the result of the visibility of men's netball in the last 10 years in Australia, we are seeing a larger number of boys being interested in it. But the problem now comes in where we were 20 years ago, where there was a real growth, and then the pathway stopped, and it's still stopped. And so we're going to see those boys kind of come through and have nowhere to go. And then it's, and again with the men, there will be no competitions in the regional area. It's only going to be city-based. So we're going to see a lot of the drop-off again over the next 5 years. I predict we'll see a drop-off in those statistics over the next 5 years unless something's done about it.
Colyn, I read something about you, and I want you to tell me if it's true or not. It was a Netball Scoop article from a couple of years ago, but it explained that you were diagnosed with cancer. I think it was back in 2012.
Yeah.
And is this true that you discharged yourself from treatment to go and play a netball game?
Yes,
later
I did.
passed out on the court, but said, if this is how I'm going to go, then this is how it will be.
Yes. So,
I mean, I love netball, Colyn, but my gosh, that is what you call dying for the dress or the bib or the shirt.
Well, I think when you've been involved in the sport like I have, and what it has done for me on a personal level, it has made me see in places like Australia I've always wanted to go and dreamt of. But yeah, I'd come back from a tour in Australia. We were playing indoor netball, the next version. So we were playing in that World Cup. And I came back from Australia, and because I played all the games, every game. And I just came back and I felt tired, and I just kept feeling tired and more tired. And I'm like, oh, it must be all the games catching upon me. Went to bed on a Monday, and I didn't come out of my bed until Wednesday. And I thought, this is not cute. This is not good. And so I just marched myself into A&E. And then that's when I decided I'm not going to leave until I hear something. So, of course, long story short, the blood cultures were done. And then they said, yes, there's something here we need to have a look at. So all the tests were done, and then I was diagnosed. And I said, right, I'm going to treat it like this. It's now a game. It's the beginning. I'm in the quarter one. So when the treatment starts, I'm in quarter one. And then the third quarter came when some friends of mine, netballer, the male guys, said, we're playing Surrey Storm, or Surrey at the time, in one of these showpiece games, and people are paying to come in. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to miss that. And they said, well, you could come if you want to. And I'm like, okay. So I just told the nurse. I remember we arranged it via text. I said to the nurse, I'm popping downstairs to the shop to get me some drink from the supermarket. She said, okay, don't be long. I said, no, I won't. So I had my netball bag and everything packed. And I just went on the underground. and I met them in Clapham, and we off to Surrey. Got there, I had my cannula in my arm where I was doing the chemo, so I wrapped that up. Told the umpire, she said, "Yep, you can play with it. That's fine." And I went on the court, and I started, and then I just felt my arm feeling like cement. My legs kept feeling like they couldn't come off the floor. The next thing I knew, I was on the gate stopped. I collapsed, and I had to be shipped back to the hospital. So, and I said, well, you know what? If I'm gonna die, what a great way to go, because yeah, I'm doing what I love, and if you do the job you love, you never have to work a day in your life. So that was it.
I wish some of my teammates had half of that attitude and commitment. Trust me.
I'd like you guys to make a pitch to anyone listening who's not been down to watch a men's netball match. Why should someone go and have a look?
And where can we find information on it as well?
Well, it's a bit far to go to Australia, and you've got an Australian audience too.
It's very small.
I want to say, Emna, which is the male version here, the president, Ryan, is doing a great job. You know, he's doing an excellent job in terms of the promotion, and he's galvanized certainly the visibility of men's netball in the sport. Although I'd like to see him mention those who've gone before. Yes, we're still holding him to that. But we have to mention what he has done with the current crop of guys in terms of the way he's brought this on. And listen, I've seen it grow, especially I've been to all of the championships. I think there's been 5 versions of it, and I've played in all 5 of them. I'm going to play into this one, maybe my last. But yeah.
No.
And he's done a fantastic job with what he's done with putting it out there. And everywhere I go, I try to help that by promoting it.
If you're based near Loughborough, get down and see it.
Yes, and there's some great players on show.
Can you give us a few names to look out for?
If you like to see defenders fly, look no further than people like Jamal Nicholson, who is just like a little panther on the court, the way he just prowls around and come out and take ball. If you want to see maybe center court flair coming from a young player, there's a young kid called Aiden McHenry, I think his name is. He's only about 16, 17 years old. And again, great player. Really good. Still have a lot to learn, but really good. There is Shooter from Manchester. Really good shooter there. Goal shooter. There is Kai Lewis as well to look forward to. There is, God, I could go on with a bunch of names.
Thank you, Colin. And Nathan, what are the Kelpies up to? Because I've watched the Kelpies live and I was blown away. It's like the first time you see the Diamonds on the women's side. The Kelpies are like something else. And it's more than just the speed and the power. It's the skill and the flair and the tactics that go on as well. So what are the Kelpies up to these days, and how can Aussie listeners, but also UK fans, follow them?
There's no planned tour at the moment. Yeah. There have been tours of the underage sides, under 17s, under 20s, under 23s to New Zealand recently. So that's been and gone. But yeah, I can't actually tell you what is going to be happening with the Kelpies going forward. Obviously, they will be organising some tours. They won't be with the Australian Diamonds at this point. But yeah, I think the best thing would be to look up the Australian Men's Mixed Netball Association website, which would have all the latest news on where they're touring, what they're doing. But for anyone watching, if you're a parent of a boy, we often think let's go to the cricket and watch the cricket together, or let's go to the footy, or whatever it is, maybe just go watch a netball game. I've heard it said by many people that for boys, particularly late teens, when they're starting to come into the sport, particularly in Australia after having that gap, it is such a good environment, an inclusive environment for boys to be involved in. And there are real role models on the women and men there who are there for them. And the boys I know, the men I know who've played for a number of years have had such personal growth through the sport, outside the sport, but because of netball, because of the community. And taking your boy down to see a game of men play might inspire them. It might be the next step for them. So yeah, I think boys need to have those role models to look up to.
Yeah, and overall, what I've taken from this is, sorry, Colin, is a lot of us girls, women, can probably remember times where we felt intimidated by walking into a room and feeling like a minority and feeling not welcomed. That's exactly what you guys are feeling. It's just in the sport of netball as opposed to a press room or a boardroom or a sport like rugby or football. It's the same thing. So, yeah, I think we owe it back to you guys actually, and listening to the history and how long these things have been going on for. And history, unfortunately, does repeat itself. So let's hope they sort things out for the Kelpies, who are the trailblazers, but also for nations like England and Jamaica. Listen, maybe I'll start a Wales team because we don't have a Wales men's or boys pathway right now. So if I can find any time outside of this pod or whatever else, then I'll look into it, Colin, and you'll be the first person I call.
Listen, I would be there in a heartbeat.
France has a men's team now.
Ah, there we go.
Yes.
And you've got the French haircut, Nathan, so you need to be representing France.
Yeah.
Jiva Mentor is the performance director for France. So yes, so there's gonna be big things for France. I've seen them at work and they are doing a fantastic job over there. Some really, really good, and again, people like the Kelpies are role models for them because I spoke to one of their players. His name is DM, and one of his favorite players is Liam Forcadilla, who, in my opinion, is the best men's player by a country mile. He is just in a different
So
league
consistent.
of his own. Yes. He's there. Everybody else is here, and I mean that respectfully. Yeah.
Well, that used to be you, Colin, as well. You were up there, my friend, and everyone else was.
You know, I'm gonna use that perfume called Delusion by Calvin Klein.
Before we, I don't know if Emily's got anything else serious to ask you, but I'm intrigued to hear, jumping over to the women's side again, who is finishing in gold, silver, and bronze medal position at the Com Games this summer. Nathan, we'll start with you.
My heart says Australia, but I think either Jamaica and England can give a really good run for the money. But yeah, Australia and then England, then Jamaica.
I'm gonna go controversial. I'm gonna go Australia 1, Jamaica 2, because having seen the team they've just selected now, they're gonna go 2, but also I think South Africa may be taking the bronze. They're a dangerous team at the moment. The players are playing very, very well. My goodness gracious me.
Yeah, we're not mentioning New Zealand. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Well,
but they're not there at the moment.
Well, you know what?
I think that's a dangerous thing to say.
I just poked the beast.
Yeah.
They're great. They've got a great coach. There's no doubt about it. And she's a master tactician. But there's only so much you can squeeze out of a lemon. And I mean that respectfully. You know, so yeah, they're going to have a lot of problems. I can foresee them already. So I think South Africa is the team to watch. They've got players right through their team. Elmarie van der Berg, the center Mate, exceptional player. Vissa at the back. I mean, I could name names. It's like walking through a designer alley. You know, they're great players, and I watch them. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. And Nathan, I'm going to leave a link in the pod notes to get a watch on the documentary, Rising to the Occasion.
Everybody, please get out there and watch that documentary.
If you watch it, make sure you get a box of tissues first.
Do bring some tissues. It gets quite emotional. So be prepared.
Andrex at the ready.
You need a partnership with Andrex. You've shouted about twice now. Other toilet tissue is available. I can't afford Andrex, Colin.
It's kind of softer on the skin.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you both.
You so much.
Thank you for having me on.
I'm really passionate about netball.